Excuse me, I mean, the name's Bond. James Bond.
Movies. The average person can be inspired by them. They can make us laugh. Movies can keep us on the edge of our seat, and so much more. Maddie's Movie Mix is a podcast for movie enthusiasts of all kinds. We hope you enjoy the show.
All right,
Which I can't do either of them, but
it felt a little rehearsed.
that one I've rehearsed. I did rehearse the Sean Connery kind of, which I suck at, obviously. That's not the point. I mean, it could be the point, but it's not.
Right.
But the whole Australian thing, that was like 5 minutes ago. Well, maybe 7 now.
I mean, all the ladies love the Australian accent, so I don't understand why people don't practice it more often.
Right. Blonde, blue-eyed, Bond.
There was technical issues earlier.
There was technical issues earlier.
So the first time, I don't know what I said. This time, I can only think of Aryan race.
We have way too much fun doing this.
Yes.
Which is the point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But Daniel Craig.
He's back.
Excuse me. No Time to Die.
Older than ever.
And you had said on the previous recording the 2 007s.
Oh, yes. And then you went like 1007.
And then I went 1007's a thing for me because 1 007. So I used to always be like, there can only be one Bond, 1 007 at a time.
That's right.
And this movie totally threw that theory out the window for me.
Well,
actually, no. Yeah. No, I know.
Not that I don't think there's any canon within the James.
No, I know.
Not that I don't think there's any canon within the James Bond, but I'd be fine if this gets omitted from Daniel Craig's list of 007s.
I think that, right. I think, though, that the canon from the beginning to the end of, I think they did a good job. I'll word it like this. They did a good job with Casino.
Yep.
With Quantum.
Yes.
You know, with Skyfall.
That one's my favorite.
You know, and some of that. So, I mean, I don't know. This one, you know, Daniel Craig made sure this was his last one. Everybody
Which I still
knew
think is stupid. Everyone knew going before the movie. Okay, I'm not going to say what. We don't have to go into spoilers yet. Yeah. But yes, they made sure it was the last film.
Yes, and I think everybody knows that. And I'm happy that we're doing this. I love James Bond.
Yeah.
I used to know a lot of stuff. I mean, I still remember a lot of stuff, but before, you know, the philosophy of this is conversation on you know, movie lovers, essentially.
That's
right? We're not lovers. We're movie lovers. You're married.
Only in the theater.
So, Megan, if you're listening, Tyler, never mind.
I'm going to go find
who's the one without the lights on?
That's right. All right. We are lovers of movies.
And so the idea is not to be like super technical, but yet here's what we like, here's what we don't like. We're rating them. You
not
know,
B
from
rating.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Tun. And that's the point. It's not to tear things apart. It's to say, here's what we enjoyed, here's what we didn't enjoy, but everything has its kind of place, right? And so, you know, I had the approach with Bond films for such a long time. I wanted to know everything there was, and I wanted to know why did they do this and blah, blah, blah. And so I have a lot of that for the older stuff.
Right.
And then so the newer, with Daniel Craig, I don't know as much of that information. I just wanted to go in, be entertained, you know, what were my gut reactions, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be released pre-pandemic.
Yep.
Or not pre. This was supposed to be released shortly after the pandemic had started or whatever. And they pushed it back and pushed it back and pushed it back. Finally released it. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yes.
You know, we're going to keep it short.
We're going to try.
We will do it.
And if it's not short, it's all Matt's fault. Because
It's my fault.
He's control of the timer.
So, but yeah, it's so going into it before they started even filming, it was very well known that Daniel Craig was not going to do any more after this film. So there was like, and they did a very good job of keeping things secret.
Yep.
I mean, I know people personally that really dug into this while they were filming, and they're like, we don't know how it ends.
Anything.
We just can't figure it out. So that's good. So so in Florida, I was able to watch this in theaters.
Oh,
it
exciting.
had come out in October of 21.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. And so I was down in Florida in early November, I believe it was, and so I saw it for the first time there. It was a cool experience, a very cool theater too, a theater that I had never experienced before.
Yeah,
they like it was like well, they had waiters and waitresses in a restaurant.
Oh, really?
They would come to you pre-movie and serve.
That's
you
amazing.
could order food and stuff. It was cool.
we really got to take a theater tour one of these years.
Yeah,
Just
that would
spend
be
like a month
super
just going
fun.
traveling
Let's
around
do
to
it.
different theaters. Yeah,
So, will you support us?
that's right.
Send us money. We want to do fun things like that.
That's right. Or popcorn kernels.
That works too. Yeah, so it was a cool experience, but we won't reveal spoilers yet, as
No,
he said.
I've tried.
But it ended, and I was like, no freaking way.
No. Yeah. I had those same exact sentiments. And they draw it out for so long, too, of like, okay, nope, I can't keep talking about it, because if I would do it, I would draw parallels.
Yeah.
Which
So
would make it evidence.
Yeah. So we won't do that now.
I do like Daniel Craig
Yeah.
as James Bond. He was a great pick for this character and this series of reboots for the 007.
Yep.
He's really believable in the role. They had to replace M in this one, right? What that guy was. I forget what the guy is. The
Ralph
director.
Fiennes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he did a pretty good job, too, stepping in.
Yeah, so... Oh, the director?
Not the
Oh.
director. I'm talking about like the guy. Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes
Yep.
is his name. Yeah. Is his real name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super good actor.
Yeah, I
really
he
enjoyed
was
him.
Voldemort.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So which
Super
is
wide range.
totally.
Yeah.
A lot of other things that he's done too, but yeah, but they brought in Cary Fukunaga.
Yeah.
I grabbed my notes here as the director.
Yeah.
They brought, so
Right.
that was a little unexpected if memory serves, but Ralph Fiennes was M. But yeah, so that was in they transitioned that, in Skyfall
Right.
and stuff or whatever. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like him as the M. Like, I mean, the old M was great too. Both have done a great job within that role.
yeah, and Judi Dench was, of course, back in Pierce Brosnan time.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
That you don't know.
Yeah, I'll make a note here. I've only seen the modern 007. So
Yeah.
Daniel Craig is the only 007 I know.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Daniel Craig, M, and were my favorite characters of this film.
Sure.
Wasn't a huge fan of the villain, Rami Malek, or I forget how you pronounce his name. Rami
Malek.
Malik.
I don't know.
Did not like him. I mean, he's a good villain, and they did a great job with some like the costume design. I like the scarred face, and I like the mask, but I just didn't like him as a character, and even the plot point of what they were going for this film, I didn't like.
I agree, especially after Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
He was, you
Right.
know. So I just didn't think he did a great job either in this. I mean, I know a lot of people raved about how well he did in this as an actor. I just didn't connect with
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I do really like Daniel Craig. I like him in some other stuff.
Yep.
It's a little weird to see him in other stuff though, because he did really fill the shoes well.
It's interesting because I watched Knives Out is the one that
Yeah.
like really the only other one I've seen with him recently.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's so interesting because he has a whole different accent, whole different persona.
Yeah.
So it's just, quirky to see when you have established roles like this is who I remember him as. And now we see him as something else. Like, you're doing great, but there's still just a mental disconnect between the two characters.
Yeah, and he was in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that, but or one of the versions of it.
Right.
I think there's a couple of versions out, but yeah. So I think some of the real core was really good. I think that they did. Q was kind of. I didn't like how Q was done in this one particularly.
It's such a small
role. It was just not. Just didn't feel quite right.
No.
It was almost certain things were forced.
Yeah. I would almost wish he wasn't in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, or like more background.
Yeah.
Like he was, he'd pop in and save the day for a quick moment.
Or at least talk about the gadgets more before handing them out. There was only like that pulsing one that was really discussed.
Yeah. And so the way that was written and directed, I don't think that was necessarily the actor's fault.
Right.
But that brought the score down to only a 4.1 for me on this film.
Okay. I give it a 3.9. I mean, I think it's important to have a good villain, and the protagonist antagonist chemistry is very important to make a film great.
Yeah. And
I just think there was a big disconnect between that. And so that's what brought it down for me. I wish there would have been more. And it was typical. Even at the end, it was like just typical tropes. Oh, you're just like me, blah, blah, blah. It's like, not really. Like, you're saying stuff, but it doesn't have any substance behind it where I connect with what. Oh, yeah, I see where these characters are similar. I didn't feel that.
Yeah.
There was one scene, it's right at the beginning, where he's driving around his little James Bond sports vehicle.
That would be called a DB5.
DB5.
Yeah. Aston Martin. Or Aston Martin, depending upon who you ask.
I don't know who that is. Just kidding.
Well, that would be a DB8 right here on the table with
I see
with
Palpatine.
Lord Sidious.
Where I thought it was so stupid. They were sitting in the car, and again, I don't know if this is actor chemistry or cinematography of how it was shot, but they just sat there while there were guns shooting at the vehicle, and they're just like, the anticipation would be, oh, is he actually going to do anything before he lets the gunshots go through the window?
Yeah, so clearly predictable.
Yeah.
However, what I did like about that scene was he was mad at her.
Yeah.
And spoiler, there was an attempt on his life.
Yep.
And he thought that it came directly from her. And, so there was that.
There's a reason why.
So he was like, fine, forget it. If I'm going to die, you are too. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
That's kind of how I took that scene. Like,
okay. Well, I also thought the girl, who I can't remember her name or actor name.
I can't remember right now either.
Was
it's
not a huge
Léa
fan.
Something, right?
There was some cheesy acting by her too.
Yeah.
With the tears and stuff. Like it was slightly over the top. Like, I understand again that she's dying, but again, we weren't invested in the character enough to for me to believe those emotions.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
I mean, that's going to be any James Bond because they usually have a different woman or girl that he's going after, from my understanding. And they have to quickly form that relationship because it's always someone different.
Yeah, but she's been in a couple others.
Okay.
Or one other, I guess.
So I just wish more of that. But again, that's not cinematography. There was some fun stuff in it.
Of course.
Yeah. It's
very
James
realistic.
Bond. I always do like how they do the intros.
Yeah.
James Bond definitely has the best intros for movies. And I like that they're sticking with it because not a lot of other movies are actually sticking with these long intros to introduce all the different actors and players who are involved in the movie.
Yeah. I love it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was good shots. Nothing ever took me out. There was fun action. There was fun explosions. So I gave it a 4.2.
Okay. So I liked in a movie, I like when they do a lot of different things, like really bright scenes. Clearly the sun's shining brightly, and then like what scene is now, it's night.
Yep.
And it's dark, and it doesn't. There's these background lights, which makes sense then, and
Right.
So I like that in a film, and I think they did a good job. You can see different reflections, you can see different shadows, you can see it looks real.
100%.
So I like that quite a bit, the way they make that look. There's some shots and stuff when some fight scenes that I didn't really think I think they rushed through some of them. I know in an interview, I think it was with Daniel Craig, I believe, an interview that I saw, there's the spoiler, there's a fight scene at the end. I know.
Did not see that
Weird.
coming.
That was somewhat improv, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think that's the word they used, but it wasn't exactly, it was kind of added in to the extent that it was a little bit later, a little late. So that didn't seem to make the length of it and how it was done. It didn't seem to make a lot of sense, and so I don't think it showed up well because I don't think there was enough thought behind it.
Right.
So I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But I still think they did an overall dynamite job.
Yeah.
So I'm a 4-5.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other plot point that doesn't make sense to me in this movie, any supervillain, what's up with the point of like getting this thing that you can kill people based off of their DNA? Where in the world would anyone think that's a good idea? Because that could easily be used against you.
Yeah, right.
And bombs and stuff, like whatever, like that makes sense. I mean, that was the only way to kill people is big nuclear threats. So you gotta create those things and have big power plants. But infecting everyone with this stupid DNA thing where you could kill anyone that you want to based off of any reason that you feel like is reasonable doesn't make any sense to me.
No, and because it can backfire.
Yeah.
Someone else can use it.
Yeah.
I mean, our DNA, it's so mixed up anyway,
Yeah.
right? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I agree. It was an interesting concept, and the way they went about it and in harvesting some of the stuff that they did in the plants or whatever.
Right.
It was yeah.
I mean, overall, you have to have some big threat, but
yeah,
I still didn't like the full extent of what it was being used for. It didn't make sense.
No,
again,
right.
You can use any poison, transmittable, make it use in the water. Just put in there easily to transmit between one another. Don't use DNA crap.
I think they just have to keep notching that kind of evil stuff.
It's
up,
like Fast and the Furious. Let's go to space.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Right. Which a Bond did too, by the way.
Yeah.
Moonraker, but
in Bond it makes sense. Fast and Furious is about
cars.
Save
the planet. No, I agree. I just it is weird. They to me, it's like, let's be more realistic than less realistic. If you're going to go over the top, make it more realistic. Like, that makes sense. That could work.
Exactly. Or have like a group you're going. Like, there never seemed, it was kind of like Thanos thing of like, let's just take out half the universe.
Yeah.
Which works for Thanos because there's a huge universe and he had the whole thing of balance. He had the backstory really making sense of the snap. We're taking out half the people. Made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In a movie like this where they're all humans and
it's supposed to be realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally.
That was one of my gripes. This is probably like my least favorite Daniel Craig James Bond movies was No Time to Die.
Well, clearly because of the end.
That's true.
One of the other things, though, that I didn't care for, it does make sense, but I didn't care for it, was that there were two. We need to circle back to that and close that loop. But there were two 007s.
Yep.
And they needed more backstory to that, I guess, to make that make sense to me.
And I still would have been interesting.
Yeah, because in other Bonds, when they didn't really replace the number essentially and some of that kind of stuff when like 009 died.
Right.
Or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they didn't bring back a 009.
Yeah.
So which was in Octopussy, by the way, is who 009 died in. But so they, that didn't make a lot of sense to me, I guess.
Especially since
because they didn't explain it.
The 007 was technically still alive. Wait till a person to actually die before you fully replace
so
007.
There's all those things. Yeah. So it is
terrible
what it is.
Branding.
And,
need better PR people.
They do.
No, we only have 007, 008, and 009. That's all we can fill.
Yep. 003 too.
003. How's the pom-pom doing?
Yeah, I feel like I should
Tis
switch
the
it.
season.
Well, we're doing this a little bit before Christmas. I think we'll probably try to have this out right after Christmas, maybe the first of the year.
Yeah.
So I
celebrate
figured,
good times.
Let's
All right.
Exactly.
3.6.
What?
It's a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah.
It's long. And again, I thought
you said you liked Daniel Craig.
But I was also saying this is like my least favorite movie that he was in for 007. So I try to preface it to at least make this where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Chewable and manageable.
Interesting. I did not expect that.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of 007. Action is fun. But I don't know. There's just a lot of things that I can connect with. Like, again, the main plot point of we're using this chemical warfare. Didn't like how that was handled. Didn't like the villain. It was a long film. Spoiler, he dies at the end. Not happy about that.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole progression, let's bring him back, but then send him off right. There was no reason not to send. He has a family. He has kids.
Yeah.
Let's send it. That's what going back to Fast and Furious 7.
Yeah.
That's what they did with his character. They let him have a family. He died in real life, but he was still in the movie at least able to be with his family because that's what the movie was all about.
Yeah.
And 007 is slightly different where it doesn't have it's all about the family mindset. But again, Daniel Craig deserves something better than that. And again, we have to make sure he doesn't come back. Well,
I wonder if he had a part in that. Like, okay, I'll do this, but you have to kill me.
Yeah.
In the end.
But here's the stupid thing is that he could come if they really wanted to come back. He didn't really die.
I've thought about that pretty in a lot of depth.
Yeah.
And that is somewhat possible. Highly unlikely.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're right. They did set it up. And I'm not going to talk about it because it's a fairly new movie and I think you should go see it.
Yes.
If you're listening, watching.
Got it on Black Friday for $9.99.
There you go. So it's very much worth the 2.5 hours in my opinion. You're right. He could have miraculously escaped that because of they bombed.
Right.
And
I'm not saying
I don't want to give it away, but
I'm happy they tried to do either go big or go home with the death scene.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they did do that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if Daniel Craig was worried about, let's just kill off my character and not even have any conversations of continuing on with me, I think that's a moot point because they could technically still do that in any realm they want.
Yeah, they probably, compromised, I suppose. But yeah.
He's only mostly dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, boy.
End credit scene, his arms just twitch.
Yeah. I was more entertained than what I thought I would be because I knew this was his last. So I was going into it like thinking, oh, this is going to suck. I'm going to watch it anyway.
Yeah.
But it's going to suck. But
See,
so
that's the mindset to go into movies with.
it really is.
And it's not a positive one.
No.
And it's a hard one to get into.
Yeah.
But more often than not, you're pleasantly surprised.
Yes, exactly. And so I was.
Yeah.
I was entertained. I've watched it 2 or 3 times since.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna give it a 4.3 for overall entertainment. Even though there was plenty in there I didn't care for.
Yeah.
Certain things were drawn out longer than they needed to be, and
Yeah.
So
That's fine. I know you're all biased over there with 007.
ah, for sure.
I see those goggles.
Heck yeah.
Oh, man.
007.
023. That's coming right up around the corner.
023.
Sorry, I can do 2023 with those.
Oh,
glasses.
I see. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? We better do our top 5 then.
Top 5.
Yeah,
Yeah. Bring in the new year well.
that's right.
But that's for another podcast, right?
I think it is.
I sure hope so.
How do we end it?
How do we end it? Well, we're not going to end it like Daniel Craig did in the movie.
Push the red button.
Not the button.
Did you have McDonald's on the way over here?
Yo, you betcha.
I figured.
Number 1 with Coca-Cola.
There you go.
Ba-ba,
LegitQ at
ba-ba-ba.
Matty'sMovieMix.com. See you next time.
Hammer the share button. Go ahead and hammer out a comment to us. Go ahead and hammer the like button. Go ahead and hammer the subscription button. Go ahead and hammer the notification bells, because you know what? That's the best way you can support us. We appreciate it.